A new science has been developing which explains why many of us spend so easily and are unable to survive on our salaries. Simon Dingle works for a company that tracks our spending.
You'll go from 1 year to the next and you'll get a massive raise, for example, and you'll finish that year and go, I've still managed to spend all my money.
No matter how much we earn, many of us go to bed worrying about our finances or the lack of them. Now, we know that we should be responsible, but we can also be totally irrational about our spending. Now, an emerging science aims to explain our relationship with money. Behavior economics says that it's all in our DNA. We have a fast and impulsive side to our brains that has evolved over hundreds of thousands of years.
And it's very good at keeping us alive when we're in the jungle, for example, and there's a tiger around. Then we've got a slower side of the brain, which is more rational, more analytical, and that side of the brain is better at making decisions once we've thought about them.
It's that reactive and impulsive side that excites marketeers. They know our triggers, don't they?
No matter how much money you have, the environment is filled with people who are very good at making sure that they'll be able to take all of it.
As a result, we sometimes live too close to the edge and have no financing resources to draw on when times get tough. John, he'd prefer not to use his real name, had a business that started failing. Everything he worked so hard for was about to be taken away.
You're not sure what's coming your way. You're assuming the worst. You just know that you're going to be losing everything.
South Africans, it seems, can't help spending on credit or being encouraged to spend on credit. And with the festive season over, it's going to be another mad scramble to make ends meet. And to make ends meet often means another trip to the bank manager. Enabling us to spend more than we earn are not only the micro lenders, but now the big banks. Deborah Solomon runs a successful debt counselling business, and the number of unsecured loans she sees staggers her.
The big four banks took the Capitec and the African bank approach, whereby they then recognised and understood that the unsecured lending market was a very lucrative market.
So big money to be made in small loans.
Absolutely, more money to be made in smaller loans than a bond.
Some of these loans are being recklessly handed out. The banks and credit providers are finally but slowly being brought to book. Last year, following an action taken by Octogen, a debt counselling company, a Vryheid magistrate found that 25 out of 82 credit agreements had been entered into recklessly. The national credit regulator, responsible for overseeing the industry, is also concerned.
So we've seen an increase in the number of debt counselling applications, which is an indication to us that indeed there is a problem, and unsecured lending is the main cause for such problems.
Last year, the NCR commissioned a report on unsecured lending. One of the findings was that the majority of unsecured personal loans were to consumers who were vulnerable to changes in economic conditions. A good example is this couple who were willing to share their story but were too embarrassed to show their faces. Unbelievably, they had 43 credit agreements while living on moderate salaries. They lost virtually everything when one of them was retrenched.
Your neighbor's got a beautiful car. Your kids are pressurizing you that we also want a nice car. Then you go and buy it, or maybe to show off to other people.
What is an example of conspicuous consumption? Well, Rajan Woodruff, ex-chief economist for Metropolitan Life, who founded the Bulungula Lodge in the Eastern Cape, says that this type of consumption is always evident in unequal societies.
Well, conspicuous consumption is about bling consumption. It's about acquiring goods, not necessarily because they bring you any pleasure, but specifically in order to show that you've reached a certain level of success.
But that comes at a price.
So you have to get into debt in order to acquire the means to buy the goods so that you can display to others that you've achieved.
The bling starts at the top and filters down to the man in the street.
The people whom you move with, they are in a certain level, then you want to be in that level as well.
Even those of us who don't borrow recklessly don't have much of an idea of where all our money goes. This website, which took many years to build, tracks all our purchases. After being confronted by our spending habits, Simon is adamant that with some minor adjustments, we can survive on our salaries. Deborah feels face-to-face is vital.
This is a marriage, and you are married to your counsellor. Your counsellor will fight with you. If you don't make a payment, you will fight with the counsellor. They don't come back to you, and together you need to fight the banks.
Although there are still dodgy debt counsellors out there who run off with clients' payments intended for creditors, when the process works, it really works well, as John discovered. His home and transport were saved.
Post-debt counselling, I was able to get refocused on constructive things, which was, okay, fine. That wolf's no longer at the door. Now I need to start rebuilding.
But well into his debt counselling, it almost unravelled when John received a call from an attorney representing his bank.
And the gist of it was, we are going to revoke your debt counselling, and we're not accepting this anymore.
Deborah and her attorney demanded that the bank uphold John's debt counselling court order.
A court order is an order of the court, and not even the banks are above this law.
But it appears that his harassment by the bank is not an isolated incident. I mean, how can they do this? This is surely a serious and nefarious infringement.
Yes, it is a serious infringement because court order, I mean, it's binding. It should be binding to all parties.
While the cost of living remains a major cause for debt for the majority of South Africans, Rajan believes that most of us with decent salaries can, with a change of attitude, survive. She gave up a well-paid job and has found meaning in helping impoverished communities in the Eastern Cape.
Happiness is not something that comes from the goods that you acquire, and it's not even about the events that happen around you. It's about an inner state. What kind of mother, father, daughter, son you are, that is what brings happiness. Community brings happiness.
That community can be experienced again in homes, but only when debt and its crippling effect is confronted, as John's partner discovered.
Once the debt administration had been taken place, I saw another person evolve. The self-confidence comes back, he's able to focus on what's important, he can start making plans for his future again, and he can get focused.